Ladies and gentlemen, quiet please. Could I have your attention please? Quiet please. At this time, please place all electronic devices to vibrate. Mr. Majority Leader, it's all yours.
Good afternoon and welcome to the stated meeting of March 26, 2026. I am Majority Leader Sean Abreu and I'd like to thank you for joining us. As a reminder, decorum must be respected at all times. As a reminder as well to members of the public, you must remain silent. And if you would like to express support or opposition to something, you may use hand gestures. If you would like to follow along, the agenda for today's meeting is posted on our website.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Roll call.
Aldebol,
Here.
Ariola,
Here.
Aviles,
Presente.
Banks,
Here.
Brewer,
Here.
Brooks Powers,
Present.
Caban,
Present.
De La Rosa,
Here.
Dinowitz, Encarnacion,
Presente.
Epstein,
Present.
Farias,
Present.
Felder,
Presente.
Felice,
Presente.
Gennaro,
Here.
Gutierrez,
Here.
Hanif,
Here.
Hankerson,
Here.
Hanks,
Present.
Hudson,
Present.
Joseph,
Present.
Krishnan,
Here.
Lee,
Here.
Lewis,
Present.
Maloney,
Present.
Marte,
Present.
Mealy,
Present.
Morano,
Here.
Narcisse,
Please, no.
Nurse,
Present.
Osei,
I'm here.
Palladino,
Here.
Wrestler,
Here, and let's go Mets.
Riley,
That's right.
President, let's go Yankees.
What?
Salam,
Present.
Justin Sanchez,
Here.
Pierina Sanchez, Santos Suoso,
Here.
Shulman,
Here.
Stevens,
Here.
Thomas Henry,
Present.
Ung,
Present.
Vernikoff,
Here.
Williams,
Present.
One,
Present.
Wang,
Here.
Zhuang,
Here.
Carr,
Present.
Abreu,
Present.
Speaker Menon.
Present.
Thank you. We will now have today's invocation, which will be delivered by Reverend Dr. Cole Breyer of Interfaith Center of New York, which is located at 475 Riverside Drive in Manhattan.
Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a theologian and a German pastor in the 1930s. He taught here in New York City at Union Theological Seminary and Sunday school at Abyssinian Baptist Church. He was here in New York when he made the fateful decision to return to Germany in 1938. He wrote from prison, "I believe that God can and will let good come out of everything, even the greatest evil. I believe that even our mistakes and shortcomings are not in vain, and that it is no more difficult for God to deal with them than with our supposedly good deeds. I believe that God is no timeless fate, but waits for and responds to sincere prayer and responsible action. And just what are these responsible actions in such a time as this? Are they radical actions? Well, it depends which roots we're drawing from. Are they conservative actions? Well, what values are we working to preserve? When those in power don't care to sustain the things that make a shared life possible, conservative action is indeed responsible action. Or are responsible actions both radical and conservative? Lose your principles, says Princeton theologian Hannah Reichel, and take responsibility. From Tegel Prison, where Bonhoeffer and other members of the German resistance spent their last days, he wrote this: the ultimately responsible question is not, how do I extricate myself heroically from a situation, but how is the coming generation to live? Please join me in prayer. Creator God, behold and visit, we pray, this great city. Renew the ties of mutual regard which form our civic life. Send us honest and able leaders. Enable us to eliminate poverty, prejudice, and oppression, that peace may prevail with righteousness and justice with order, and that men and women from different cultures and religions and talents may find with one another the fulfillment of their humanity through God of love and justice. Amen.
Thank you. I will now ask Councilmember Gail Brewer to spread the invocation on the record.
Thank you very much to Reverend Dr. Chloe Breyer. She, as you can see, is an Episcopal priest in the Diocese of New York. Early in her career at St. John the Divine, she founded a forum on religion and public life. She is currently the executive director at the Interfaith Center of New York, where she has been for 18 years, bringing people together based on what you just heard. That is a place where mosques and Sikh houses of worship and churches and synagogues and temples and many religions come together on a regular basis. She, in her past, has gotten her PhD from Union Theological Seminary. She also got her master's from General Theological Seminary, and she got her undergrad at Harvard University. When she wrote her thesis, it was on the issue of fighting discrimination, making sure that Islamophobia was not something that should exist, and she talked about Christian peacemaking. She has, as was said, one award that she's gotten many, is a minister with a passion for social justice. She's written about immigration and social justice, I swear, an op-ed in the Daily News every single week for the last year. She is as somebody said, someone you'd want as a friend. She's earnest, she's analytical, she's endowed with a sense of justice. As she said, the kingdom of the church, it's like the secular world, it's imperfect. And her task, which she is successful in, is to make a positive difference in whatever ways she can. And to that, every 5:30 Monday at Columbus Circle, she brings people of all different faiths together to talk and pray together about the challenges that we are all facing. I want to be clear, her son was an intern in my office, and her father was the Justice of the Supreme Court, Stephen Breyer. She's very, very special. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will now ask Councilmember Virginia Maloney for the adoption of minutes.
I make a motion that the minutes of the stated meeting of March 10th, 2026 be adopted as printed.
Messages and papers from the mayor.
M53, mayoral appointment.
Refer to rules.
Communication from city, county, and borough offices.
M56 and preconsidered M57, budget modifications.
Referred to Finance.
M58, OMB withdrawal letter.
Received, ordered, printed, and filed.
Petitions and communications.
None.
Land use call-ups.
Ms. 54 and 55.
Thank you. I would now ask the clerk to take a roll call vote on today's land use call-ups.
Aldebo.
I vote aye.
Ariola.
I vote aye.
Aviles.
Aye.
Banks.
Aye.
Brewer. Thank you. Brooks Powers.
Aye.
Caban.
Aye on all.
De La Rosa.
Aye.
Dinowitz.
Aye.
Encarnacion.
Aye.
Epstein.
Yes.
Farias.
I vote aye.
Felder.
Aye.
Feliz.
Aye on all.
Gennaro.
Aye.
Thank you. Gutierrez.
No.
Thank you. Hanif.
Aye.
Hankerson.
Aye.
Hanks.
Aye.
Hudson.
Aye.
Joseph.
Aye.
Krishnan.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Maloney.
Aye.
Marte.
Aye.
Mealy.
Aye.
Thank you, Councilmember. Morano.
Aye.
Narcisse.
Aye.
Nurse.
I vote aye.
Thank you. Osei.
Aye.
Palladino.
Aye.
Rustler.
Aye.
Riley.
Aye.
Salam.
Aye.
Justin Sanchez.
Aye.
Farina Sanchez.
Aye.
Santos Suoso.
Aye.
Thank you. Schulman.
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Thomas Henry.
Aye.
Ung.
Aye.
Vernikov.
I vote aye.
Thank you. Williams.
I vote aye.
1.
Aye.
Thank you. Wang.
I vote aye.
Zhuang.
Aye.
Carr.
Aye.
Abreu.
Aye.
Speaker Menon.
Aye.
Today's land use call-ups are adopted by a vote of 50 in the affirmative and 0 in the negative. Thank you. We will now have communication from Speaker Julie Menon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to begin, first of all, by talking about our preliminary budget hearings that we've hosted for the past 11 days. Thank you all for all of your great work on this, and I really want to thank our incredible finance team. To get a clearer picture of the fiscal challenges facing our city, we had hearings on all the issues that impact the lives of New Yorkers, from education to public safety to housing. Yesterday, we closed out our series of hearings when OMB testified about the administration's $127 billion preliminary budget for fiscal year 2027. As our city grapples with what the administration has most recently identified as a $5.4 billion budget gap, the Council's finance team has been hard at work to continue to dig under the surface of city agency budgets to identify potential savings without cutting services. On April 1st, we will deliver our response to the preliminary budget, outlining the Council's priorities, direction, and commitments for the city budget. As we move along in the budget process, we look forward to working with the administration to reach an agreement this June. In the meantime, the Council will continue to pursue our mission of securing a fiscally responsible, balanced budget that helps make our city more affordable without cutting the critical services that New Yorkers depend on. I want to switch gears and discuss the latest updates on the case of our City Council employee, Rafael Rubio. From the very day he was detained by ICE, we have maintained that Rafael's detention was completely unlawful. I want to be clear, he had all of the legal authorization to remain in the United States and work here. He followed all of the rules, and he showed up for immigration appointments when he was supposed to. But last Wednesday, a federal immigration judge ordered Raphael's removal from the country, an outcome that is deeply, deeply unjust. This week, a different federal judge denied Raphael's habeas petition challenging his detention, meaning that he'll continue to remain behind bars pending the resolution of his immigration case. We find that outcome devastating. Raphael should be at home. I spoke to Raphael yesterday. We have continued to communicate both with him and his family throughout this whole process. It was an incredibly difficult time for him and his family. He's a valued public servant, a beloved member of the City Council team, and we will continue to fight and advocate for a just outcome, which is what we are doing. Switching gears, yesterday the Council debuted our first of its kind online budget dashboard, an innovative new tool to make New York City's budget process more transparent and accessible for all New Yorkers. Created through the stellar work of our finance team, through the hard work of our Deputy Speaker, Dr. Natasha Williams, through our web development unit, our data team, it translates hundreds of pages of budget documents into an interactive resource that makes a complex process easy to understand. This is more than just about data. It's about equity, it's about accountability, and ensuring every community has visibility into the decisions that shape their lives. As we turn to today's events, earlier this morning, I joined many of you at a rally in the Rotunda in recognition of Equal Pay Day. As the 20th anniversary, it's honestly shocking that each and every year we have to gather in the Rotunda to have this reminder of gender-based inequality that has persisted for far, far too long. Closing pay gaps is, of course, a central focus of this Women Majority Council, and as Speaker, I see it as a personal responsibility. That is why today I was proud to announce the revival of the City Council's Pay Disparity Report, which was stalled under the prior administration, and we fully expect that it will resume this year. When that report is published, it won't just measure disparity, it will drive action as well. And when New York City gets this right, we set the standard for every employer throughout our state. Now, turning to more celebratory times, March 23rd was Pakistan Day, which commemorates the adoption of the Lahore Resolution that led to the formation of the nation of Pakistan. I join all Pakistani New Yorkers who celebrate this day of freedom and independence. Yesterday was Greek Independence Day, and we join our city's vibrant Greek communities in observance of this important celebration. Today is Bangladesh Independence Day, and the Council will be hosting a Bangladesh Independence Day celebration here in the Council chambers starting at 5 p.m., and we invite all New Yorkers to join us. To mark the end of Women's History Month, the Council will be hosting its annual Women's History Month celebration here in the People's House on Monday, March 31st. We hope all of you can join us for that occasion. Next Wednesday, our Jewish community will begin Passover celebrations. As families gather around the Seder table, we will recount the journey from slavery to salvation to all who celebrate the Festival of Freedom, Chag Sameach, and may you have a peaceful and meaningful holiday. Next week is also the start of Holy Week, the week leading up to Easter. For our Christian community, this is a time of reflection, of hope, and renewal. And to all of those observing, I wish you a peaceful week and a happy Easter. On Saturday, March 29th, the Council will kick off Participatory Budgeting Vote Week. This is very exciting. Through Sunday, April 6th, New Yorkers over the age of 11 can vote for their favorite proposals to be considered for city funding. I'm excited to see all of the projects that New Yorkers created to improve their local school, their local park, a library, or other public space. And thank you to all of our council staff who work so hard on participatory budgeting and every New Yorker who's engaged in this process. I encourage everyone to please vote during Participatory Budgeting Vote Week. Next, please join me in wishing a happy belated birthday to council members Chi Osei and Lincoln Ressler, and a happy early birthday to Deputy Speaker Dr. Natasha Williams. Aries, that's right. Okay, now we're going to move on to our stated agenda. First, we're going to vote on the following land use items. DEP, Newtown Creek CSO Tunnel. An application for site selection and acquisition approvals to facilitate the construction of stormwater infrastructure to improve water quality in the Newtown Creek watershed in the districts of Council Members Gutierrez, Resser, Wan, and Wong. 20 Berry Street will facilitate the development of a 10-story office, retail, and light industrial building with over 10,000 square feet of publicly accessible open space in Councilmember Resser's district. 1727 Amsterdam Hilltop Apartments, an application by HPD to facilitate the redevelopment of an underutilized city-owned NYC H&H facility into a new 9-story mixed-use building with 200 supportive and affordable housing units and community facility space in Majority Leader Abreu's district. 1325 Avenue of the Americas text amendment, which will bring into compliance 2 existing open-air cafes and facilitate the addition of a new open-air cafe in the publicly accessible galleria of a building in Councilmember Maloney's district. Allen Street demapping will facilitate the Department of Parks and Recreation's management of a future concession and the reactivation of a shuttered restroom in Councilmember Marte's district. Site selection for a new approximately 754-seat primary and intermediate school in Councilmember Morano's district. And an application by Ladive for revocable consent to operate a sidewalk cafe in Councilmember Marte's district. The council will modify this application to limit the site plan to a maximum of 6 tables and 12 chairs. We'll also be voting on the following finance items. We have a pre-considered resolution sponsored by our finance chair, Councilmember Linda Lee, approving a revenue modification that recognized $3.1 billion in new city funds for fiscal year 2026. A pre-considered resolution, also sponsored by Councilmember Linda Lee, approving a revenue modification that recognized $3.1 billion in new city funds for fiscal year 2026. A pre-considered resolution sponsored by Councilmember Crystal Hudson would authorize an amendment to the district plan of the Fulton Street bid to change a method of assessment upon which the district charge is based. It would also set the date, time, and place for the public hearing of the local law authorizing a change in the method of assessment. Next, we will vote on the appointments of Midori Valdivia, appointed by the mayor to lead the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission, and Wayne Hawley, appointed by the controller to the New York City Conflicts of Interest Board. Next, we will vote on the following resolutions. Resolution 359, sponsored by Councilmember Farrah Lewis, would declare March 24th annually as Women of Color in Tech Day in New York City in recognition of the contributions of women in color to the technology industry and the challenges they still face. Resolution 360, sponsored by Councilmember Virginia Maloney, would call upon the United States Congress to pass and the President to sign HJ Resolution 80, SJ Resolution 38, establishing the ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment. Thank you to staff Julia Goldsmith-Pinkham and to Katie Salina. Today, we will vote on the following legislation. Introduction 177A, sponsored by Councilmember Harvey Epstein, would require the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection to create and run a program to provide individualized counseling to individuals about federal and state student loan forgiveness programs and other student loan repayment options. Thank you to Sarah Swain and Natalie Meltzer. Now, I'm going to turn to a package of 5 bills we introduced in January as part of our efforts to combat all forms of hate. Whether it was the more than 70 swastikas that were graffitied in a Brooklyn children's playground, or the 182% rise in anti-Semitic incidents in recent months in our city, or churches being vandalized across the 5 boroughs, or anti-Muslim hate crimes experiencing a 69% increase in 2024. The increase in hateful acts around the city is absolutely abhorrent, and we had to do something about it. Introduction 388A, sponsored by Councilmember Lincoln Resser, would require the Commission on Civil and Human Rights to establish a hotline to receive reports from the public regarding discriminatory harassment and unlawful discriminatory practices. Introduction 297A, sponsored by Councilmember Virginia Maloney, would require an agency or office designated by the mayor in consultation with the NYPD to provide religious and nonprofit institutions with support in establishing and maintaining emergency plans that contain protocols to address threats of violence and safely evacuate premises. Introduction 22A, sponsored by Majority Leader Sean Abreu, would require the Department of Education to distribute age-appropriate materials regarding the risks and dangers of social media to middle and high school students annually. Beginning September 30th, 2026, materials would cover online bullying, harassment, discrimination, misinformation, and disinformation, as well as how to prevent or mitigate associated harms. Introduction 1B, sponsored by myself, would require the police commissioner to establish a plan to address and contain the risk of physical obstruction, physical injury, intimidation, and interference at places of religious worship while preserving and protecting the rights to free speech, assembly, and protest. The plan would include considerations for the NYPD to use in determining whether, when, and the extent to which security perimeters may be used to protect entry to and egress from places of religious worship and for communication with stakeholders, including the public, persons seeking to assemble or protest, and affected religious leaders. The commissioner would be required to submit a proposed plan and a final plan to the mayor and speaker of the council no later than 45 days and 90 days respectively after the bill's effective date. The final plan would also be posted on the NYPD's website. Finally, Introduction 175B, sponsored by Councilmember Eric Dinowitz, would require the police commissioner to establish a similar plan at educational facilities. Thank you to Jessica Boulay, William Diori, Rachel Conte, Juanita John, Rachel Cordero, and Wesley Jones. So thank you for your attention, and now I'm going to turn it back to our majority leader.
Thank you, Speaker Menon. Just want to remind folks, I know some new folks from the members of the public have just now walked in. Want to remind you that you shall remain silent at all times, and if you want to express support or opposition to something, you may use your hand function. You may make a hand gesture. We will now move into discussion of general orders. Beginning with Councilmember Maloney, followed by Epstein.
Thank you very much. I am proud to intro 297, a bill that directs the city, including the NYPD, to work directly with our faith communities to develop comprehensive security protocols and emergency plans. Places of worship are sacred spaces where New Yorkers come together in faith and community. They should be spaces where no one is intimidated or fears for their safety simply for entering or leaving. But far too many New Yorkers of faith do not feel safe in our city, and that's unacceptable, and it's time for the council to act. Intro 297 is a necessary and proactive measure. It equips our houses of worship with the tools and guidance that they need to prevent threats, respond to emergencies, and maintain safe access for all attendees. This bill ensures that law enforcement and faith institutions are aligned, so risks are addressed before they escalate. This is part of a broader package and sends a clear message that protecting the safety of our faith communities is not optional. It's fundamental responsibility of city government. I urge my colleagues to support Intro 297. Thank you.
Councilmember Epstein, followed by Hanif.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I rise to support my legislation, Intro 177, which would establish a program in the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection to provide personalized counseling for individuals seeking state and federal loan forgiveness. As we all know, the student loan issue has reached almost $2 billion in debt. Average borrower owes about $40,000. 1 in 6 people in the United States and in New York carry student loan debt. And repayments are really difficult. We see this around the country and in New York. Over 5 million New York people in this country have debt, hundreds of thousands in New York alone. And with crushing affordability issues, this debt and with the changes that the Trump administration has done, it's really important that we support those borrowers and what we can do today. We are serious about strengthening the economy, improving affordability. We must invest in tools to get people out of this burden. This bill is a practical step to do that. I want to thank the Speaker for her leadership and making sure this bill came to the floor. And then she knows the needs of workers, people who borrows every day and the impact that it has on their lives. I want to thank my staff and the committee staff for all their work, and I encourage my colleagues to support this legislation.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Dinowitz. Hanif is now changed to general discussion.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I rise today in support of my Bill 175B, which would provide for safe access for our students as they enter their schools. And I'm a proud sponsor of all of the bills in this package. Dating back to my time in middle school, peer tutoring, then as a student teacher in high school, as a public school teacher, the education for our students is of paramount importance to me, as it is to so many of us in this body, to so many of us in this city. And we all here know that our schools, our educational institutions are not just about education. They are sacred spaces where students go for education, of course, but for mental health support, for food security, to find themselves, to find community, and so much more. And as I was in middle school and high school, and even as a young teacher, I never questioned the idea that our students would be going to school and they would be unsafe as they entered their school. But that is not the case now. There are too many instances, too many experiences of students being harassed, intimidated, physically obstructed from entering their own schools, so much so that they live in fear of going to school, that they take their courses online, that they transfer schools. That is not the New York we deserve. And so with 175B, we are asking for something simple. We are asking for transparency and accountability for our New York Police Department. To say that if you are going to set up perimeters, which they do from time to time, that we in New York City deserve to know what the plan is, and we deserve public input, which this plan provides for, and we deserve to know who we can contact to ensure that we are all being treated fairly and safely, which this bill provides for. And I'm so proud to sponsor this legislation, and I want to deeply thank the Speaker for her support of this legislation. Thank you, Majority Leader.
Councilmember Hankerson.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Good afternoon, colleagues. In 2020, after the horrific murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and too many others, I led a protest with my church in the Southeast Queens community on Jamaica Avenue. We came there grieving, angry, and demanding justice. As the names of those killed at the hands of police were read aloud, some of the officers present were so moved that they knelt with us. And that moment drew national attention across the country. The Black church has always stood at the forefront of the fight for civil rights, which is why the First Amendment has always been paramount in our communities. It protects the right to gather peacefully, the right to worship, and the right to be seen and heard. I would not, let me repeat, would not support any bill that would have stopped the protests we held that day. I would not support any bill that silences peaceful protests or weakens people's right to assemble and speak. At the same time, there is also the right to live without fear. And for people, including children, parents, and staff, to enter and leave their houses of worship and their schools safely, we, as a people, must respect that right as well. We have seen before in this country that access and protest can both be protected at the same time. Think back to the Little Rock Nine, when it took protection of 11,000 soldiers so that Black children could walk into schools that had long been closed to them, despite the hostile crowds outside. As elected officials, our job is to protect people's constitutional rights and their safety. I do not believe these bills are meant to obstruct peaceful protests, but rather to require the NYPD to have a plan for select instances where safe passage is at risk. Let me be clear about my position. If that plan is ever used to eliminate sight and sound, limit speech, or burden lawful protests, I will be among the first to call for it to be changed. This city has to protect liberty, justice, and public safety for all. This is why I plan to vote yes on the combat hate bills. Thank you.
Thank you, council members. Seeing no one else signed up to speak for general orders. Report of special committees.
None.
Report of standing committees.
Report of the Committee to Combat Hate. Intros 1B through 388A on page 3. Package to strengthen security perimeters, education, and reporting.
Amended and coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Consumer and Worker Protection, Intro 177A, Student Loan Financial Counseling.
Amended and coupled.
Report of the Committee on Finance, Preconsidered Reso 394, Fulton Street bid.
Coupled on general orders.
Preconsidered M57 and Reso 416, Budget Modification.
Coupled.
Report of the Committee on Land Use, LU 35 and Reso 403, 1727 Amsterdam Avenue.
Coupled on general orders.
LU 36 and Reso 404 and LU 37 and Reso 405 DEP Newtown Creek.
Coupled.
LU 38 and Reso 406 through LU 40 and Reso 408 20 Berry Street.
Coupled.
LU 41 and Reso 409 1325 Avenue of the Americas.
Coupled on general orders.
LU 42 and Reso 410 and LU 43 and Reso 411 Allen Street Mall.
Coupled.
LU 47 and Reso 412 Ladive.
Coupled.
Preconsidered LU 48 and Reso 413 Intermediate School.
Coupled.
Report of the Committee on Rules, Privileges, Election Standards, and Ethics, M41 and Reso 414, approving the appointment of Midori Valdivia, Taxi and Limousine Commission.
Coupled.
M51 and Reso 415, approving the appointment of Wayne G. Hawley, Conflicts of Interest Board.
Coupled on general orders, I would now ask the clerk to take a roll vote on all of the items coupled on today's general orders calendar.
Alvebol.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
I vote aye on all except 175B. Thank you, Chair and Speaker Menon. I'd like to take a moment to recognize and explain my decision to vote no on Intro 175B. The rise of anti-Semitism is a serious threat to all of our communities and my community in the East Bronx. I take it incredibly seriously. People of all backgrounds and faiths deserve to be able to worship in safety and peace. And as the council member for District 13, I have a duty to stand up for the safety of my constituents. I'm voting yes on Intro 1B because I believe that requiring NYPD to provide plans for security at houses of worship can help communities in the East Bronx that I represent feel safer and more secure while gathering. However, I have serious concerns regarding the extension of that legislation to educational facilities. Therefore, I am voting no on Intro 175B. I believe that this legislation has serious legal concerns and too many potential unintended consequences. The broad definition of educational facilities encompasses everything from child care centers to college campuses to union training halls, bringing in a wide range of potential complications. A one-size-fits-all plan from the NYPD does not lend itself to transparency. It does not take into account the diversity of our educational institutions and the communities where they reside and serve. Additionally, the labor carve-out in the legislation does not lessen my concerns of potential infringement of the First Amendment rights of union members. The labor movement is a social justice movement as well. And demonstrations are not confined only to contract negotiations and strikes. I will always stand against anti-Semitism, against Islamophobia, anti-Black racism, anti-immigrant.
Thank you, Council Member.
Ariola.
I vote aye on all with the exception of M41 and accompanying Resolution 414, for which I vote no.
Thank you. Aviles.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
Over the last decade, New York City has seen an overwhelming increase in hate violence. These acts of violence make life worse for everyone in our city. It harms victims and families, creating cycles of trauma. It makes communities afraid to worship freely, celebrate holidays, share beloved customs with their neighbors. It threatens the very foundation of the city we love, our diversity. We must fight hate with truly effective and evidence-based tools that reduce violence. The package before us does not do that. It relies on police interventions that have not decreased rates of hate violence. It ignores the mistrust of the NYPD within communities of color. It makes no effort to advance community-led interventions that actually protect New Yorkers' health and safety. New Yorkers deserve more than the status quo. They deserve more than a performative policy. This package does not address the root causes of hate. What it does is curb New Yorkers' right to free speech. I stand today with organizations like NYCLU, Legal Aid Society, PSC CUNY, UAW, and so many more that see the real chilling effects this package poses on our freedom of speech. We know that these incoherent bills are a message against dissent, in particular against pro-Palestinian voices. In a moment when free speech is under attack, when New York City should be protecting our rights, not curtailing them, I look forward to seriously working on ways to bring our communities together with evidence-based strategies. For these reasons, I vote no on 1B, Intro 175B, and Intro 388. Thank you.
Banks.
Aye on all, and permission to explain my vote at the same time.
Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. I'm proud to support the anti-hate package because it takes meaningful and proactive steps to protect our communities. At a time when we are seeing a troubling rise in the hate-based incidents, we have a responsibility to act, not just in response, but in prevention. By strengthening security for houses, all houses of worship, and educational institutions, we are helping to safeguard the very spaces where people should feel most secure. This legislation packages recognizes that when hate goes unchecked, it doesn't just impact individuals, it creates fear, division, unintended consequences that ripple across our communities. These investments are about ensuring that families, students, congregants can gather, learn, and worship without fear. Every New Yorker deserves to feel safe in the spaces that matter most, and this package is a strong step towards making that a reality. I on all again. Thank you.
Brewer.
Yes on all, abstaining on 175B, just because it's an excellent beginning, but I think it's too broad. Thank you very much.
Brooks Powers.
I vote aye on all.
Caban.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
I share the deeply held commitment that the Speaker and the rest of the Council hold to end the scourge of hate violence in the city and to ensure that every single New Yorker, whether they're Jewish, Muslim, trans, queer, Latina, Asian American, can live free from the fear of being attacked because of the identity that they hold. And I believe strongly in investing in solutions that work. That's why I've worked closely with Jews for Racial and Economic Justice to support their NYC Against Hate proposal, which would invest $26 million in violence prevention and interruption, in relationship building and anti-bias trainings, among other vital initiatives. The data shows that these solutions work. The data and research also show which solutions have failed us, namely relying on the police to combat hate. Even as crime in the city fell, incidents of hate violence and harassment increased 152%. Over-reliance on the police will not solve hate violence. We cannot squash out hate through reactive domination and violence. And the proposed bills double down on these failed strategies while overlooking evidence-driven proposals like those put forward by JFREG. We have to address hate at its root, and there are no shortcuts. Moreover, as the Trump administration works overtime to criminalize dissent, including on college campuses, it would be a grave mistake to add that to the repression with the measures proposed here. I'm grateful to the New York Civil Liberties Union for their work to highlight the risk to freedom of expression and dissent if these bills become law. That's why I must vote no on these bills. I hope I will get to work with the Speaker and all of you to fund and implement the New York City Against Hate Violence slate of initiatives so that we can meaningfully end the violence, the harassment, and the fear plaguing too many communities in our city. With that, I vote no on Intros 1B, 175B, 388A, and aye on the rest. Thank you.
De La Rosa.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you so much. As someone who not only speaks about standing up against hate in all its forms, I've lived my life in that way, standing up for immigrant rights, against xenophobia, against racism, against anti-Semitism, against Islamophobia. I've lived those values. And I firmly believe that this council must do more to keep New Yorkers safe. However, what I cannot support is turning away from the civil rights, especially in educational institutions. If we have learned anything from history, it is that the student movement has been at the root of societal change for generations. And I cannot support Intro 175B for that reason, because dissent, especially for the younger generation that will inherit this city, is important and it is healthy. And we must encourage them to continue to think critically and to develop their own values without fear of not being able to express them. And so I will vote yes on the bills in the package today in hopes, like my colleagues have said, that this conversation will continue, and I will be a no on 175B. Thank you.
Dinowitz.
Proudly vote aye on all.
Thank you. Nurse.
I vote no on 175B, 388A, and aye on all the rest.
Thank you. Encarnacion.
I vote aye on all.
Epstein.
I wish to explain my vote. I'm voting aye except for 175B. I'm voting no on 175B, and I encourage us all to...
Sorry, you asked for permission?
I did.
The answer is yes.
You didn't answer yes?
I'm now saying yes.
Oh, I very appreciate that. You want me to start over?
You can start this time over again.
I don't need it.
2 minutes.
So I'm just saying I'm voting aye except on 175B. And I think this is an important conversation we're having here in the chamber about how we do preventative measures to combat hate. I look forward to long-term funding opportunities. Okay, hate is a taught behavior, and we need to make sure we use resources going forward in the budget, and I know the Speaker cares deeply about this, to fund programs that will help us combat hate going forward.
Farias.
I vote aye on all with the exception of 175B, in which I vote no.
Felder.
I want to request permission not to explain my vote.
That was a good one.
Once in a while. Okay, I vote yes on everything except for M41 and Reso 414.
Thank you. Feliz.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
I'm proud to vote aye on all. I'm especially proud to support bills led by Speaker Menin and Councilmember Dinowitz, bills to help ensure the safe access to places of prayer as well as our schools. Our houses of worship and our schools are supposed to be some of our safest places. And recently, we've seen a drastic increase in harassment and intimidation tactics against members of our community, including and especially against members of our Jewish community. Individuals screaming horrible things that basically call for the harm against members of the Jewish community. This is unacceptable, and we must do something about it. Keeping New Yorkers safe is one of the most important duties of city government. These bills will help do just that by requiring that the NYPD report, just like every other reporting bill that we do, simply require that the NYPD report on what steps they're going to be taking to make sure that we can put an end to the intimidation tactics that we continue to see. Also, we've heard a lot on this bill, so just want to say that the text of this bill is extremely clear. There's nothing in the bill that would ban anything. It simply requires that the police department report on the plan to prevent intimidation and the harassment that we've seen far too often. For these reasons, I vote aye on all. Thank you.
Gennaro.
Mr. Majority Leader, I'd like to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything today, but I'm just hearing a lot of rhetoric about downplaying the role of the police and spending money to create programs that are supposed to diffuse hate. I'm for that, but I just want to relate to folks that that my district was the district that had the protests after the Park East synagogue protest, and I knew there was going to be a lot of problems there potentially, so I worked it out with the mayor. I called him. I worked it out with the police commissioner, and everybody went home safe. But one thing that didn't happen was that the people that were on the street, 100 feet away, from the shul, that were screaming, "We are Hamas," they did not have the opportunity to, directly harass my constituents. These bills are very, very consistent with what I had to sort of cobble together in my own district. This should be codified into law. I support all the bills in the anti-hate package, and I'm proud to vote and co-sponsor them and everything else on today's calendar. I vote aye on all.
Thank you. Gutierrez.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I want to start off by saying I vote aye on all except Bill 175. I shared this with the sponsor. I know Councilmember Dinowitz has worked really hard to engage with members. And so I just want to give him credit because I know it has not been easy. The reason I'm voting no, however, is because of the overwhelming position that I've heard from young people in my district long before this bill about removing PD from interactions with young people, removing PD from schools, for example. In my community, Fitchburg, Williamsburg, and even Redwood in Queens, the interactions are not sunny, they're not rosy, they're not positive. And in many instances, young people feel threatened by just the sight of people in uniform. And so while I understand the intention of this bill is to create a perimeter, a plan, transparency, I do feel like there is nothing more transparent than the experiences shared from young people in my district about their interactions with PD, how negative, how scary they were. And ultimately, I cannot support a bill that would even for a second put young people in vulnerable, even more vulnerable positions. And for that reason, I vote no on Bill 175. Thank you.
Thank you. Hanif.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Everyone deserves to worship safely and without fear. We are seeing a rise in hate violence, and I hear that fear from my constituents. Houses of worship have urgent safety needs, and I've supported synagogues and mosques in my district in coordinating with NYPD precincts to ensure additional security during religious gatherings. I'm proud to vote today in support of measures that proactively address hate violence, educating students about online hate, providing emergency planning for religious institutions, and creating a hotline to track hate and bias incidents. However, I have serious reservations about the remaining two bills in this package. Intro 1B and Intro 175B required the NYPD to develop a plan to create security perimeters around religious and educational institutions. These bills give the NYPD too much power to police speech and raise constitutional concerns. They undermine the 2020 summer protests settlement agreement, which requires the NYPD to minimize policing at protests and comply with the First Amendment through a tiered response informed by best practices. They also include a carve-out to exempt labor picketing, creating content and speaker-based restriction that raises significant constitutional issues. Because schools and houses of worship are located across the city, these police-controlled zones risk broadly limiting constitutionally protected protest, advocacy, and dissent. At a time when our federal government is eroding civil liberties, New York City must model a different path. one that protects both safety and fundamental rights. It is imperative that we do not expand police discretion over when and where people can speak and organize. For these reasons, I join civil rights, pro-democracy, reproductive health organizations in opposing these bills in their form.
Thank you, council member. Can you please tell us what your vote is?
I vote no on 1B and 175B, and aye on all. Aye on the rest.
Thank you, Councilman. Hankerson.
I vote aye on all.
Hanks.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. Today I'm proudly voting aye on all, and I'd like to associate my comments with Councilmember Hankerson and Councilmember Banks. I stand with Speaker Menon and my colleagues who have bills on the floor today to combat hate. These bills have a simple purpose: to allow our neighbors to pray and to be educated without fear. So I vote aye on all. Thank you. And I encourage everyone to vote aye on these bills, very important bills.
Hudson.
I would like to be associated with the remarks of Councilmember Gutierrez, and I vote aye on all with the exception of Intro 175B. Thank you.
Joseph.
I vote aye on all except no for Intro 175B.
Krishnan.
Mr. Majority Leader, I humbly request permission to explain my vote.
Humbly granted.
I just wanted to say, in representing the largest population of taxi drivers and four-hour vehicle drivers in all of New York City, they're my constituents, I am proud and excited and want to congratulate a soon-to-be Commissioner of TLC, Midori Valdivia, for both her work for many years and her words of support for drivers across the city who have experienced so much, from the predatory lending practices of the medallion crisis years ago to now our historic legislation that we passed in this council overriding a mayoral veto to stop the unfair deactivations of drivers, the New York Taxi Workers Alliance. We have a real champion now at TLC that will stand up for drivers in this city, and I'm looking forward to working with her to do so. And I vote aye on all, with the exception of Intro 175B, for which I vote no.
Lee.
Aye on all.
Lewis.
Aye on all.
Maloney.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
I vote aye on all and am in strong support of all the bills in this legislative package that make clear how seriously the council takes our duty to guarantee the safety of our faith communities. And I also want to congratulate Midori on her new role as the Taxi and Limousine Commissioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Marte.
I vote aye.
Mealy.
Chair, may I explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you. I would just like to vote aye on all, and I want to thank the Speaker, Councilmember Dimowitz, on his legislation. It is time that we put Christ back into these crises that we are going through in this city, and I vote aye on all, and I vote no on M41 and Reso 414. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Morano.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I rise to speak not on the issue that everybody's spoken about eloquently on both sides, but an issue very, very important to my constituents, which is the proposed school siting in my district, which is LU 48 with accompanying resolution. This is an issue that I have spent a great deal of time on, and one that has generated strong and sincere concerns from residents in the surrounding community. I've heard from neighbors about traffic, parking, flooding, and the strain on existing infrastructure. These aren't abstract concerns at all. They are real quality of life issues for the people who live there, and they deserve to be taken seriously. That's why I've made it a point to review the environmental materials carefully, to raise these issues directly with the School Construction Authority, and to make sure that the concerns being raised are on the record and part of this process. At the same time, I've also visited every single school in my district, and what I've seen is that overcrowding is out of control. It's not a hypothetical problem. It's happening right now. Classrooms are full, resources are stretched, and there's a clear need for additional capacity. So in many ways, it's not an easy vote. It's a balancing of two very real concerns: the impact on an existing community and the need to provide adequate school space for our children. And if there were a way to build a school with no traffic, no parking impact, and no disruption at all, I promise you I'd be the first one to sign up for that, but we're not quite there yet. After weighing all that, I do believe that moving forward with the school is the right decision, but I want to be very clear that support comes with an expectation, which is that the School Construction Authority and relevant agencies will continue to engage with the community to take steps to mitigate traffic and infrastructure impacts. This can't be the end of the conversation. I hope it's the beginning of a continued dialogue, and I want to take a moment to thank my colleagues for supporting this project and for helping deliver a much-needed new school for the families in my district. It truly makes a difference. So with that, I'll be voting aye on all items on today's calendar with the exception of M41 and Reso 414.
Thank you. Narcisse.
I vote aye.
Osei.
I vote aye on all with the exceptions of Intro 1B and Intro 175B, in which I am a no.
Palladino.
Aye on all with the exception of M41 and Reso 414.
Wrestler.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
Thank you so much, Majority Leader. I vote aye on all with the exception of 175B. And I would never oppose a piece of legislation that I felt meaningfully prevented hate or anti-Semitism in particular from being mitigated or prevented in our city. But I'm particularly concerned about this bill's impact on protest on our college campuses. You know, we look to our young people to stand up, to challenge us, to push for a brighter and better and more equitable future for all of us. And I'm concerned that this legislation could undermine that. So I am voting no on 175B and aye on the rest of this package. And I'd also just like to take a moment to thank the Department of Environmental Protection for updating the Newtown Creek Long-Term Control Plan, which will reduce the CSO outflow, the combined sewage overflow outflow into Newtown Creek and the East River by 74%. That is a lot less poop in our waterways. And in particular, there will, as a result of the updates to this plan, be no poop going into the future Bushwick Inlet Park, which will one day be a magnificent poop. We're talking about poop. There will be no more poop going into the waterways surrounding Bushwick Inlet Park as a result of this plan. And so I'm grateful for the team at DEP for their hard work as we work to reduce CSO outflow in North Brooklyn and Western Queens.
Riley.
I vote aye, and congratulations to Speaker Menon and Councilmember Dinowitz on their bills today.
Salam.
Permission to explain my vote.
Permission granted.
First, I would like my remarks to be associated with all of the brilliant remarks of my colleagues, all of them. Included in today's vote is legislation that aims to strengthen our fight against hate, a fight that is not yet over. Hate isn't something that we are born with. In fact, it is taught. This is why these legislations are important. We must dismantle hate from its core. The intention behind Intro 1B is to protect worshipers' right to practice their faith in their houses of worship. Similarly, 175A aims to safeguard our students from fear that leads to skipping classes and things of that nature. But we must be clear about what these bills represent. They are not meant to chill free speech or restrict lawful assembly and protest. Rather, they establish reasonable frameworks that allow New Yorkers to exercise their constitutional rights, and at the same time, they ensure that vulnerable populations whether in houses of worship or classrooms, are protected from harassment, intimidation, and violence. These bills, taken together, form a comprehensive approach to addressing bias-based motivated violence. Intro 388 establishes our anti-discrimination hotline. 22 educates our youth about the dangers of online hate. 297 ensures our religious and nonprofit institutions have emergency support, and together they address the root causes of symptoms of hate in our city. I'm taught that actions are by intention. If these bills accomplish what they are intended to do, if they protect our faith community and safeguard our children, if they ensure accountability and strengthen our neighborhoods, then that will be a great thing. And with that, I vote aye on all. Thank you.
Thank you. Justin Sanchez.
Aye on all with the exception of 175B. Thank you.
Farina Sanchez.
Permission to explain my
Permission
vote?
granted.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I just want to associate myself with the comments of Councilmember Gutierrez, and I want to congratulate Commissioner Midori Valdivia on her nomination and appointment today, confirmation. With that, I vote aye on all, with the exception of 175B, on which I vote no.
Santos Suoso.
I vote no on 1B and 175B, and aye on the remainder of today's bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Schulman.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I want to associate myself with the comments of Councilmember Salam. I also want to say that today's combat hate package of bills take a comprehensive approach to confronting hate from every angle, strengthening hate crime reporting transparency, creating a bias reporting hotline, educating young people about the dangers of online hate, improving emergency planning, and enhancing security protections at schools and all houses of worship. I also want to say that the Speaker and her staff have bent over backwards to listen to all the advocacy groups and all community groups and religious groups to get these bills to a place where I think that they're very measured. We are a city that fiercely protects the constitutional right to protest. That right is fundamental, but protest cannot become intimidation that interferes with someone's ability to safely worship. And these bills strike the necessary balance, protecting civil liberties while ensuring public safety, and that is exactly what our city needs right now, and I vote aye on all.
Thank you. Stevens.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you. Although I know that my colleagues have great intentions with these bills, I have works that I would like to express. I stand here today on the shoulders of Black men and women who led transformative movements throughout our nation's history, like the abolitionist movements, the civil rights movement, Black Power movement, and ongoing movements like Black Lives Matter. And each of those movement protests were not only an act of resistance, but a powerful expression of hope and a call for our country to fully live up to its morals and democratic ideals. Throughout those movements, many leaders and communities faced profound challenges, including difficulties and sometimes painful interactions with institutions that were meant to protect and serve them. Those historical realities have shaped many of us, including myself, with our views with law enforcement. As a result, my relationship with the police complex is one that's rooted both in desire for safety and accountability and hopes of greater understanding, trust, and partnership moving forward. Today, we find ourselves at a critical point in history as we face what it feels like a hostile and deeply concerning shift in the federal government. New York City's council should be leading with educating, empowering, and uplifting advocacy. Instead, we're seeing symbolic legislation that risks sending the wrong message to our communities. Again, I know my colleagues have intentions of protecting what they believe is right, but in every rally I stand at, I tell young people that it is their duty and responsibility to be a part of the solutions. So there's no way today that I can vote for Intro 175B with that intention. I abstain on 1B and Intro 388A, and although I believe in 38A, when they had their budget hearing, they explained that there's no way for them to put this in because they don't have the resources. And I also vote no on 297, aye on the rest. Thank you.
One moment. Thomas Henry.
Aye.
Ung.
Aye on all.
Vernikov.
Aye on all with the exception of M41 and accompanying Reso 414, on which I vote no.
Thank you, Councilmember. One moment. Councilmember De La Rosa.
To clarify my vote, I am a yes on all except 175B, which I am a no.
Thank you, Councilman. Williams.
How about I know?
Thank you. 1.
Aye on all except for 175B.
Thank you, Councilman. Wong.
Aye on all.
Thank you. One moment. Zhuang.
Can I explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you.
Please keep it down in the chamber, guys. Thank you.
I vote aye on all. I want to abstain MB41. I want to say I'm a mother with 2 children. I don't want my kids go to school with fear. No matter what religion anyone practice, everyone should treat with respect. That's the reason I vote aye. Thank you. I abstain on M41.
Thank you, Councilmember. Got it. Thank you. Carr.
Vote no on M41 and accompanying resolution 414, and aye on the rest.
Thank you. Abreu.
Aye.
Speaker Menon.
Aye.
All items on today's general order calendar are adopted by a vote of 50 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, with the exception of Intro 175B, which was adopted by a vote of 30 in the affirmative, 19 in the negative, and 1 abstention, and M41 and Reso 414, which was adopted by a vote of 42 in the affirmative, 7 in the negative, and 1 abstention, and 1B, which was adopted by a vote of 44 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative, and 1 abstention, and Intro 388A, which was adopted by a vote of 46 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative, and 1 abstention, and Intro 297A, which was adopted by a vote of 49 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and 0 abstentions. Introduction and reading of bills.
All bills have been referred to the committee as indicated on today's agenda.
Thank you. We'll now move into discussion of resolutions, beginning with Councilmember Maloney, followed by Lewis. As a reminder, you only have 1 minute for resolutions. Thank you.
Thank you. As we mark Women's History Month, we're reminded that progress is never automatic. It's driven by those determined to build a better world. Just a few hours ago, a member of this body rallied to demand equal pay for equal work in the City Hall Rotunda. And today I urge my colleagues in the City Council to affirm that equality under the law cannot wait. Resolution 360 has the City Council joining a growing national movement calling on Congress to recognize the ERA as ratified and acknowledging it as the 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Until it's formally recognized, women's rights will remain vulnerable, subject to interpretation, to political shifts and uncertainty. The ERA has been ratified by 38 states. It has met the constitutional threshold, and it deserves to be recognized. I urge our council to send a clear message to Congress to act now. Thank you.
Councilmember Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader, and good afternoon. Today we will vote on Reso 359, an important measure that recognizes both the contributions and challenges faced by women of color in technology. We are living in a defining moment. AI, automation, and emerging technologies are reshaping every aspect of our lives, our economy, our healthcare, our schools, our democracy. Yet, the women who are most positioned to lead are being systematically locked out. Women of color remain significantly underrepresented in one of the fastest growing industries in our economy. They face barriers at every stage, from education to hiring to advancement. This is a matter of equity and economic necessity. We cannot build a future without investing in the brilliance, talent, and potential of women of color. I want to thank Speaker Menon for advancing this resolution and urge my colleagues to vote yes on Reso 359.
Seeing no one else signed up for discussion of resolutions, Councilmember Justin Sanchez? No? Okay. Seeing no one else signed up for discussion of resolutions, we will now have a voice vote on today's resolutions. If you wish to vote against or abstain from either of today's resolutions, please notify the Legislative Documents Unit by email or by approaching the dais. I will now read today's resolutions into the record. Resolution 359A declares March 24 annually as Women of Color in Tech Day in the City of New York to recognize the contributions of women of color to the technology industry and to acknowledge the challenges they still face. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Resolution 360 calls on the U.S. Congress to pass and the President to sign House Joint Resolution 80 and Senate Joint Resolution 38, establishing the ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. And any abstentions? The ayes have it. We'll now move into general discussion, beginning with Councilmember Wong, followed by Salam.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Today I introduced 4 bills that would tackle a wide range of environmental issues. My first bill would create a cool pavement pilot program for parks and playgrounds in 3 heat-vulnerable communities. By working alongside Councilmember Nurse's cool pavement bill passed last year, the city will begin to take serious steps to reduce heat islands and improve pedestrian comfort. My second bill will make it illegal to install outdoor illumination greater than 3,000 lumens unless it is properly covered. In a city as luminous as New York City, Light pollution is difficult to regulate, but by reducing the amount of reckless light installations we can bring to reduce our nighttime footprint and improve neighborhood quality of life. The third bill will create a Wildlife Management Advisory Board. This board would develop a wildlife management plan and issue policy recommendations to preserve and promote wildlife. Biological diversity may not be the first thing any of us thinks of when we think of New York City, but this city encompasses thousands of acres of parks and wildlife refuge, and protecting the animals that live there must be our duty. My last bill will ban the sale and distribution of plastic confetti in New York City. Plastic confetti is an environmentally reckless and pointless alternative to paper confetti. Confetti often gets stuck in our soil and water drainage systems. And while paper can decompose in months, plastics can take hundreds of years. And by banning plastic confetti, we rid this city of a reckless part of our environment footprint. Please join me in supporting these bills so we can reduce light pollution, cool our communities, clean up our city, and ensure that wildlife continues to have the opportunity to thrive. Thank you.
Councilmember Salam, followed by Farias.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Today I introduce Intro 799. I want to thank Majority Leader Abreu, Council Members Ressler and Ariola, and Councilmember Maloney for co-sponsoring this bill. Our city's infrastructure work is necessary and benefits all New Yorkers, but construction disrupts traffic for weeks or months. Small businesses on those blocks face reduced foot traffic and higher operational costs. This bill acknowledges that reality. It directs the Department of Small Business Services to provide loans for up to $50,000 per year at 3% interest, grants up to $15,000 per year, and directs assistance for signage, equipment, or permits. Businesses must show they will be significantly affected and have a plan to adapt. SBS has 30 days to approve applications, award, disperse within 14 days. Our small businesses are the backbones of our neighborhoods. This bill supports them. I'll take a page out of Councilmember Morano's book. If a Republican from Queens and Democrats from Brooklyn and Manhattan can co-sponsor a bill to help small businesses, then it sends a message to the whole City Council to get things done, no matter how polarized things may be at times. So I ask all of my colleagues to join us in co-sponsoring and passing this great legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Farias, followed by Epstein.
Thank you. Today I'm introducing two resolutions and I'm asking support from my colleagues, Resolution 392 and Reso 393. Police officer and Detective Didaral Islam was a proud member of my district, community, and the 47th Precinct in the NYPD. While working at the department-approved security job in Manhattan, he was murdered, taken from us in the largest shooting in New York City since the year 2000. He leaves behind a community that loved him deeply, his neighbors, his friends, and his family, 3 children, and his wife. He served with heart, and his loss has left a profound void, not only within the NYPD, but also in Parkchester and within the Bangladeshi community he proudly called home. Detective Islam, like many others, first wanted to become a police officer and worked as a school safety agent before meeting the requirements to join the NYPD, demonstrating that this is a viable pathway into a career in law enforcement. So as we recognize his service, we also have a responsibility to act. That is why I urge this body to support my resolution calling for the passage of the Didaral Islam Police Recruitment Act supporting S9274 and Assembly Bill 10381, which would provide pension credit to NYPD officers who previously served in other municipal public safety roles. I'm also asking for your support on a second resolution. I'm calling on Congress to pass and the President to sign Virginia's law named for Virginia Giuffre, who had the courage to speak out and hold powerful people accountable. This legislation would eliminate the statute of limitations for civil cases involving sexual abuse and trafficking. And the truth is, it shouldn't even be a question, because survivors take time to process, to come forward, and to even feel safe enough to speak. And when we tell them that the time has run out, What we're really saying to them is that their experience no longer matters. That's not justice. We have to ask ourselves, what kind of law tells someone that they waited too long to be heard? We know that what side of the line this issue falls on, and this is our moment to do something about it. So I'm asking you to stand with me and my co-prime sponsors through this action. Thank you so much. Please sign on to the bills.
Thank you. Councilmember Epstein, followed by Brewer.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank my colleagues. I know earlier this week, NYU strike settled, and for all the support you provided. Those professors went back into the classroom yesterday. Students are getting served, and they have a 4-year contract. I know the strikes are difficult, and I know the support that this body gave to the union in their negotiations to make sure that the union and NYU came to the table is really important. I also want to remind everyone that it is opening day. The Mets are up 6-4, and we're going to have a great season. Let's go Mets.
Councilmember Brewer, followed by Justin Sanchez.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the Italian caucus for the good food. I appreciate it. I am calling to your attention 3 bills about animal cruelty. You might remember that a year ago, in May 25, there was a Chihuahua named Penny who was assaulted and almost killed by 2 pit bulls, and the result was not a lot of understanding what to do. It turns out that dog biting another dog is not illegal, and so we are now hoping to have legislation that would do that. We know that as a result of that, we tried through the district attorney's office and NYPD, ASPC, ACC. It was really hard to figure out what the paperwork was that had to be filed. And so we was very disconnected and contributed to a lot of confusion, because it turns out that dogs are property. And that means that the law is not in their favor when they are biting each other. So Intro 785 would make every precinct have an animal cruelty liaison. There's one in the 2-4 precinct, a woman named Sarah Frankel, who's fantastic. She's the only one in the whole city that is an expert on dangerous dog issues, and we'd like to have somebody like her in every precinct. Intro 783, centralized dog bite reporting system. This would add dog bite to the city definition of, believe it or not, dog bite incidents, which would be reflected in the relief for owners, because it would give training to the persons involved. Intro 784, citywide dog licensing outreach campaign. We feel strongly that so many dogs are not licensed, and if they were, I think it's $18 per license. You would raise millions of dollars revenue, and you would be able to keep track of the dogs. Finally, there are 2 resolutions, both of which point toward bills in Albany that do the same thing. One, Linda Rosenthal, and one, Jennifer Rockamore. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Justin Sanchez, followed by Shulman.
Fellow colleagues, I want to keep my remarks brief today because it is simply too nice of a day outside to be sitting here inside for an extended period of time. And that is exactly the point of the resolution that I, along with my colleague, Councilmember Virginia Maloney, are introducing today. When the World Cup comes outside this summer, New Yorkers are going to be just that, outside. My resolution urges the New York State Assembly and the Senate to pass the HOST Act, which was introduced by Assemblymember Tony Simone and James Skoufis. It will allow leaders at the local level to create designated entertainment zones during these games. In these zones, communities will be able to come together to experience the joys and thrills of the World Cup with their neighbors out in the streets, the way the game was intended to be watched and experienced. It sounds like all fun and games, but it's simply good policy too. This legislation will empower local businesses, bars, and restaurants, and containing our celebrations to specific areas, which will keep a lid on things and ensure the quality of life for New Yorkers who couldn't care less about soccer. So cheers. Let's raise a glass to outdoor entertainment zones, and please support and pass this resolution, and I look forward to seeing all of you outside.
Councilmember Shulman, followed by Councilmember Ressler.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Today I'm introducing
Keep it down in the chambers so the council member can speak. Thank you very much.
Today I'm introducing one piece of legislation and 2 resolutions. which were inspired by my Chief of Staff, Jonathan Boucher, and my Deputy Chief of Staff, Seth Urbinder. First, Intro 800 addresses a frustrating but common issue with the 311 system. After my Chief of Staff filed a complaint about an abandoned property in his neighborhood, the case was routed to the wrong agency and ultimately closed with instructions to start over. This bill would fix that inefficiency by requiring the 311 Customer Service Center to redirect requests to the appropriate agency rather than closing them out and placing the burden back on the constituent. Second, I'm introducing Reso 398 alongside corresponding state legislation in response to a devastating fire in my district where predatory behavior was observed from property adjusters targeting a family that had just lost everything. This resolution calls on the state legislature to pass and the governor to sign legislation that would protect property owners, tenants, and occupants from exploitation during moments of crisis. I want to point out that this bill was passed in the Assembly yesterday. Finally, I'm introducing Reso 399, urging Congress and the President to take action to prohibit healthcare companies from owning both ends of a healthcare supply chain transaction. This is a necessary step toward increasing transparency, reducing conflicts of interest, and protecting patients. Together, these measures aim to make government more responsive, protect vulnerable residents, and promote fairness in critical systems. I urge my colleagues to sign on to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Ressler, followed by Morano.
Thank you, Majority Leader. 6 days ago, on a beautiful afternoon just like this one, Timothy England, a 16-year-old kid from Williamsburg, snuck behind a park's fence and climbed up a Coast Guard tower and tragically fell to his death. This has been an incredibly painful week for the England family, Timothy's parents and sister, for his friends at Manhattan Village Academy and in the Williamsburg community, and for all of us. Speaking to his family was incredibly painful, and my heart just breaks that this young man of such extraordinary promise, an athlete, an intellect, has been taken from us far too soon. We've been working with the Parks Department to reinforce this fence. I've been in touch with the commander of the Coast Guard for the New York area to redesign the base of this tower to ensure that no more kids will be climbing up it. And we've been working to provide mental health services and therapeutic support to friends of Timothy and to young people in our community. We will do more to honor his memory, but I just wanted to ask for everyone to take a moment of silence in honor of Timothy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Morano, followed by Joanne.
Thank you. Thank you, Majority Leader. Before we wrap up, I want to take a moment on a much lighter note, because today is a special day. It is, as Councilmember Epstein pointed out, opening day for the New York Metropolitans. And yes, as a longtime and long-suffering Met fan, I say that with equal parts hope and emotional caution. Now, I'm introducing 4 great pieces of legislation today, and it hardly seems fair to single any one out. I hope all of you and the public will take a close look at all of them. But right now, as we sit here in this chamber, the Mets home opener is underway. Mets are leading 6-4, thankfully. First pitch was at 1:15 this afternoon, and like many New Yorkers, I think a lot of us wish that we were watching it. Because baseball is more than just a game. It's really a connection. It's something families share, parents and kids, grandparents and grandchildren. It's where young people learn teamwork, discipline, focus, strategy, and yes, sportsmanship. You learn how to win, but more importantly, you learn how to lose and keep coming back. And if you're a Met fan, you get a lot of practice with that. Baseball has changed. We've got the DH, pitch clocks, ghost runners, but even as the game evolves, something deeper remains untouched. As that great speech by James Earl Jones in Field of Dreams reminds us, the one constant through all the years has been baseball. It's timeless. It doesn't belong to a clock. It belongs to memory, to tradition, to those perfect afternoons where time seems to stand still. And here in New York, This isn't just America's pastime, it's our pastime. From the Polo Grounds to Ebbets Field, from Shea to Citi Field, and there's some ballpark in the Bronx as well. Baseball is woven into the fabric of this city. Like Cardinal Dolan wrote a few years ago, there's something almost sacred about it. The rituals, the patience, the hope. Because no matter how bad things look, there's always the next inning. And maybe that's why it matters so much that we do everything we can as a city to keep this game alive for the next generation. Because the fans are getting older, but the magic doesn't have to.
Councilmember Brooks, sorry, my apologies, Zhuang, followed by Brooks Powers.
Thank you. I joined with my colleague, Councilmember Morano, in supporting co-sponsor Intro 793 to report on and assist employers with New York State Security Choice Saving Program. Currently, we all have experience. We don't know where's our saving plan for retirees, and what we're gonna do when we retire. And from the research, 60% of New York older adults have no retirement savings, which is a crisis for all of us. Expecting a busy working person to manually save on a regular basis is setting them up for failure. The New York State Security Choice Saving Program gives New Yorkers the option to save their money automatically, withdraw from each paycheck, and put it into a Roth IRA. It's extremely simple for employers, require nothing from them except offering the program to employees. They don't have to do matching contribution. They don't have to worry about changing tax withhold, because Roth IRAs with after-tax money, the employees only need to sign up, and then saving will build up automatically. Everyone who does not have employer-sponsored plan could know about this opportunity and be encouraged to sign up. I urge my colleagues to support this bill and help everyone to prepare for their golden age. Thank you.
Councilmember Brooks Powers, followed by Hanif, and then Marte.
Thank you and good afternoon. Today I am introducing two pieces of legislation. First, my bill, Intro 787, on targeted traffic enforcement, requires the NYPD to report on a quarterly basis where and how it is deploying enforcement resources, including enforcement specifically targeting e-bike riders. This comes at an important moment. The administration has announced it will end criminal enforcement for low-level e-bike and cyclist violations. That is a significant policy shift, but without data, we cannot measure its impact or ensure it is being implemented fairly. This legislation ensures we are tracking enforcement patterns, understanding how decisions are made, and maintaining accountability through publicly available data. Second, I am introducing Intro 786 to strengthen ballot access for individuals in the Department of Correction custody. Each year, ballots submitted by incarcerated individuals are rejected due to correctable errors. Yet many voters never receive the information or support needed to fix those issues in time. This bill requires the Department of Correction, in coordination with the Board of Elections, to establish a clear process for delivering cure notices, assisting voters in completing corrections, and returning those materials within required deadlines. It also mandates annual reporting to track outcomes. Voting is a fundamental right, and we have an obligation to ensure that eligible voters, regardless of incarceration status, have a fair opportunity to participate. I urge my colleagues to sponsor these two bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Hanif, and last we have Marte. Two more to go.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Today we convened an Islamophobia roundtable here at City Hall, bringing together advocates, community members, and leaders to speak candidly about the realities Muslim New Yorkers are facing. What we heard was clear. At a time of rising bias and polarization, anti-Muslim rhetoric is increasing, and it's translating into real harm. Growing up in New York City in the years after 9/11, I experienced firsthand what it meant to be Muslim in a moment defined by fear, suspicion, and discrimination. I was just 10 years old. That reality continues to shape my work today. I never imagined that I would become the first Muslim woman elected to this council, but that progress reflects generations of organizing. And it also carries responsibility to serve, protect, and ensure no one else grows up feeling that same fear. Just after today's roundtable, Councilmember Avilés, Mahmoud Khalil, and I were harassed outside 250 Broadway. An individual shouted Islamophobic slurs, spit at us, and chased our guest toward the City Hall, our train, before he was able to get in a cab safely. It was frightening and dehumanizing, and it underscores that the rise in hate is real. But in that moment, community members of different ages and faiths banded together to help ensure our guests' safety. That is who we are at our best. We keep each other safe. At a time when we see efforts at the federal level to divide communities, it is important, more important than ever, that we remain unified. As a council member, I experienced this personally, and I remain committed to building a broad multi-faith coalition so everyone can move through New York City free from fear and discrimination. I'm sharing this here with my colleagues to encourage you all to double down on your commitment to combat Islamophobia in New York City. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Before we move to our final speaker, our final council member, I want to remind folks that the BLAC is meeting right after this. Council member Malte.
And on that note, I just want to say thank you and congratulations to our executive director of the Black Latino Asian Caucus, Malik James, who is leaving his post at the end of the week. He's been so dedicated to many of the issues that we have fought for in this council. We all know how hard it is to get 2 council members in the same room. Imagine trying to organize more than 30, and that's what he's been able to do for 2 years. But more importantly, really pass the legislation that we care about and the budget initiatives across the finish line. So Malik, thank you and good luck to your future endeavors.
I'll now call on Speaker Julie Menon to close today's stated meeting.
Thank you. Before I close it, I just want to wish an early happy birthday to Councilmember Chanel Thomas Henry. And thank you. The stated meeting of March 26, 2026 is hereby adjourned.